Blow ye the trumpet, blow the gladly solemn sound. The year of Jubilee has come, return ye ransom to your home. You know, the whole idea of the year of Jubilee is not really a religious idea. You hear religious people talk about it, it's in the Bible, but it was before religion. Because it was the concept that every 50 years we would have a restoration of the people, financially. And it's in Genesis, and I think that all the people, religious people of the world, regardless of their faith, should read this. Because the year of Jubilee was very simple. A character named Melchizedek told Abraham that he was to declare a year of Jubilee where all debt, public and private, would be eliminated. All the people that were in prison for whatever reason would be let free. And all the people that had lost their lands, their access to the earth, would be restored at the expense of their masters. What you cannot have wealth and prosperity at the same time. Wealth is the accumulation of resources, the piling up of resources. And that's what you see in our cities and in the financial institutions and in the 1% that control everything. Prosperity is the free flow of resources. You cannot have both. So the people, once again, it's education. It's education. Because they've been convinced that there's no other way to do it other than whatever they tell us. But once the people are restored back to the source of the wealth, and once we look at the earth and we say, you know what, the oil that comes up out of the land, that shouldn't go to a company. That shouldn't go to a government. That should go to the people. Now, if you work for an oil company and you have an oil company, you should be paid for any value you add to it, just like they do now. The only difference is, where does that wealth go? We can't afford to let it go to governments, because what do governments do with wealth? Make war. The only reason there's war on the planet is because we have allowed governments to obtain wealth. Companies should not have the wealth of the earth. They do not have the concern, the care of the earth at heart. Once again, these resources are our birthright. We need to think of them like that and start to come up with the forms of society that reflect our true colors, our true values. And we can do this by simple agreement. Because I'll tell you this much, if a handful of people in every country in the world agree that universal birthright is a good idea and they will teach it to their children, it will trigger a psychological and spiritual revolution in the whole world. What is the situation in Iraq, for instance? They're over there fighting. What are the people afraid of in Iraq? They're afraid that someone will get control of the oil revenue. The Shia are afraid of the Sunni are afraid of the Shia, everybody's afraid of the American companies. So here's what I say the solution over there is. You take all the revenue and you put it into a people's bank. It gets distributed daily to every man, woman, and child in Iraq by sole virtue of birth, with one exception. If you are a woman and you have a child, you receive the child's portion until that child reaches maturity. So there will not be a single citizen in Iraq that's afraid of what's going to happen to the oil revenue. And there won't be a single citizen in Iraq that owes allegiance to anyone because of money. You see, to destroy these corrupt structures, you have to change the way the resources on the planet are obtained. Right now, over in Iraq, America gives cash to warlords, they give it to their buddies, they give it to their buddies, and eventually it gets down to the women that buy the oil and the food and the cooking. Once the women have that money themselves, and that this entire network has nothing more than their share, it will completely change the dynamic of that civilization. And we'll be looking at the horizon. We'll be looking for the first time at what freedom really looks like.